we don't know the true text of what Jesus says. And in Scientology, it's very important for us that there are no alterations, because Scientology works as written. I'm talking now about our religious philosophy. We do have other parts of the church that have writings, but in terms of the practice of the Scientology religion, it's very important to us that they are not altered or changed. So we come 100, 200, 1,000 years down the track, we don't have a completely different book, as has happened with the Bible.
Sure, and thank you for that answer, but does that mean that, well, in that case, you want to protect, if that's the intent, then why can't it be free for people to see it and to have access to all the teachings of the Church of Scientology without having to pay for it?
I think, Senator, that's a larger question, and I can provide you definitely a written statement on that, covering those issues.
Thank you.
If I could do that.
Stuart.
Senator Cameron has some questions.
Yeah, thanks. Mr. Ferriss, I think it may be you who would be in a position to answer this. There's been criticism from the Church of Scientology about the approach in the UK Charities Commission. The UK Charities Commission last year conducted an inquiry into the public benefit and advancement of moral or ethical belief systems, and a number of groups made submissions to that. Are you aware of Scientology made a submission?
Actually, no, I'm not aware, Senator.
Could you take that on notice? Because given that you are critical of the UK Commission, I'd be interested to know if the Church made a submission to this inquiry.
Sure, and we certainly will take that on notice. And the other point to be made really is that we're not so critical of the UK Charities Commission per se, but the earlier decision in 1999, which was not made by the Commission itself. Mm-hmm. The Commission was established and made its decision. Oh, it was established in 2002, I believe.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the history of that, because I've only got a few minutes.
We can certainly provide you with that.
What I'm interested in, I'll give you it's called the Public Benefit and the Advancement of Moral or Ethical Belief Systems, and it's a consultation process that went on, and it was called, as I've just outlined, so maybe you can come back to me on that. Now, the submissions we have from the Taxation Department say that basically religious organisations self-assess, and you've obviously self-assessed as a religious organisation, then you gain an exemption from income tax in Australia. Is that correct?
Senator, that would be correct. Yeah.
I hope it's correct, because that's what you need to do.
I think the question at the beginning was a bit confusing, Senator. I didn't understand it.
Sorry, you don't understand the question?
I didn't understand your question, actually. That's why it was a bit of a lag in answering.
Okay. So you understand where, do you want me to repeat?
Yeah, if you could repeat that, Senator, that would be great.
Under the taxation office has said, under the tax laws, religious organisations are entitled to self-assess as religious institutions, thereby gaining an exemption from income tax. I assume you've done that.
Yes, that's right, Senator.
Yeah. Right. They then go on to say the Extension of Charitable Purposes Act 2004, are you aware of that?
No, Senator.
You're not? That religious organisations can then go on to demonstrate a public benefit, and that public benefit then provides them further tax concessions as charitable institutions. Have you done that? So you've got a tax exemption as a religious organisation, which is like an automatic self-assessment.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And yes, we did do a submission to the tax office.
Yep. And then following that, then you seek a further tax exemption for GST and FBT. Do you pay GST or FBT?
We do collect GST, yes, Senator.
You do. So you haven't sought a charitable exemption. So your exemption is simply on the not simply, but on the basis of being a religion. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Why haven't you sought the charitable concession in Australia.
Oh, actually, we did get the charitable concession as well. It's based on being a religion and a charity.
I think we should, Senator, we can take that on notice. I believe that there is an exemption granted under the Goods and Services Tax Act and also under the Income Tax Act on the basis that of a charitable exemption. And I believe that that is has been filed with the submission. I think the tax exemption on charitable exemption.
Because what the tax office says is that the religious institution category for tax exemption is almost inoperative. That's not the main area where organisations gain their tax exemption. It's through charitable purposes. So that would sort of brings you in a bit of a circular way back to this position again of being a charitable organisation and being accountable. It's not just the Church of Scientology, it's all churches, all religions have to comply with these issues, and there's a public benefit issue there as well.
That's right. In terms of public benefit, because this was raised by Senator Xenophon as well, it's also considered in terms of a person who is who follows a religion that they live and work in the world, that is in itself a public benefit. Scientology is not a closed order. Scientologists live and work in the world, and they, as an extension of their faith, as an extension of their beliefs, they do good work in the community, like many other people from other faiths.
We had a submission from Corney and Lind lawyers this morning, and they also indicated that they would support a charities commission. And the bulk of the evidence seems to be that charity commissions are the best practice developing approach. Now, you've indicated you wouldn't be opposed to that. Am I right in saying then that the Church of Scientology would engage in a consultative process about the implementation of a charities commission within Australia?
I think we would. I think it would.
And what would be...
What did you say, Mr. Ferriss? Very hard to hear.
Oh.
Sorry,
We would, he was half talking to me, we would consult with anybody on that issue. We're happy to talk.
Yeah. And that would include the application of a public benefit test and a charities commission. You would sit down and talk about that issue as well?
For sure.
Yes, Senator.
Yes, that's all to me.
Okay. So, Mr. Stewart, so if you do all of the things that you say you do, you'd have nothing to fear from a public benefit test. That's a yes?
There is already a public benefit test.
I wasn't asking Ms. McBride, Chair. I was asking Mr. Stewart.
I don't know whether I can answer that question because I'm not fully familiar with all the other parts of what it is that you're asking. I could take that one on notice because I would have to study more.
It was following on from Senator Cameron's statement.
Yeah, I would have to study more to be able to answer that question.
We've actually exceeded it, so I thank the witnesses for appearing, and I now call the Australian, or the Atheist Foundation of Australia,
Thanks.
people at the other end of the spectrum.